Team blames WNBA security for targeting Sophie Cunningham fans. The Atlanta Dream believes in creating a safe and inclusive environment for everyone. The Atlanta Dream issued a statement on Monday, effectively blaming WNBA security for a confrontation at Sunday's game that led to a mother and daughter being forced to cover up their pro-woman attire. The Atlanta Dream believes in creating a safe and inclusive environment for everyone, the statement read. Unfortunately, at last night's game, WNBA security took actions that fell short of that standard. At no point was Dream personnel involved in the decisions made by WNBA security. The league issued the statement earlier today. The Dream added, "The WNBA is aware of interactions at last night's game in Atlanta, in which fans were asked by league security to cover their shirts. This should not have happened." At the game in question, which featured the Indiana Fever playing the Dream at State Farm Arena in Atlanta, Casey Thomason and her daughter Annie said that after shelling out thousands for good seats, they were approached by arena security and told to cover their XXXY Athletics shirts or leave. As the Daily Wire previously reported, Casey's shirt featured the XXXY logo in red, white, and blue. Annie's shirt, with an XX on the front, came from the Riley Gaines collection and read, for the girls, across the back. They had gone to the game to show their support for Fever shooting guard Sophie Cunningham, who recently drew fire from the far left when she defended sex-based rights for women and girls in athletics. And with just 2 minutes left in overtime, they were told to cover up their shirts because someone had determined that they were offensive. Biology and science is offensive? Casey asked, but Casey and Annie ultimately put on the offered Atlanta Dream Wellness and Health Night shirts so that they could see the end of the game, which the Fever won 95-91. Casey and Annie said they believe another fan, who had come to the game wearing a shirt that read, "Trans kids belong in sports," had tipped off security to come and get them. That same woman, they said, commented on their newly acquired Wellness and Health Night shirts in mocking tones after they were forced to put them on. Dominic Mysterio and WWE stars backed Sophie Cunningham after trans comments. Sophie Cunningham is the Indiana Fever guard. She is once again at the center of the trans athlete debate after an ESPN profile dug into her views on transgender participation in women's sports. Cunningham told ESPN that she has been mischaracterized as anti-trans. She said she got a lot of negative feedback about her hating trans people. She framed her position as one rooted in protecting young female athletes from competing against what she called biological men. She said she is here to extend love, but also believes in being honest. She wants to protect young girls in a locker room or in sports who should not have to go against biological men. She pushed back against being boxed in. She said she holds views from both sides of the aisle and resents assumptions made about her based on her image and background. This isn't the first time Cunningham has waded into the topic. In 2022, she shared a since-deleted tweet and voiced support for people of all backgrounds competing fairly. The WNBA Players Association has supported trans inclusion. Former teammate Brianna Turner argued the conversation distracts from structural inequities. The Fever organization had not commented on Cunningham's remarks as of the publication. WWE stars rallied behind Sophie Cunningham after controversial comments. WNBA player Sophie Cunningham has received support from several WWE stars. She faced backlash after making controversial remarks about transgender athletes in women's sports. Cunningham, a guard for the Indiana Fever, said transgender women should not compete in women's sports or share a female locker room. She faced heavy criticism from many peers. Her name was also banned from the main WNBA subreddit on Reddit. Despite the backlash, she received support from several wrestling personalities. The supporters include Dominic Mysterio, Rey Fenix, Brie Bella, and Maurice. Others who agreed with her include Jada Parker, Megan Morant, Gail Kim, and Deonna Purrazzo. Cunningham doubled down on her stance on Instagram, saying she said what she said. Caitlin Clark breaks silence on Sophie Cunningham's controversial comments. Caitlin Clark has spoken out for the first time about the controversy surrounding her Indiana Fever teammate Sophie Cunningham. Cunningham made comments about transgender athletes in women's sports. Clark told reporters that the issue is for leagues and governing bodies to work with their athletes to find solutions. She said the team's focus is on basketball. She added that they need to find ways to improve after their loss to the Minnesota Lynx. Cunningham told ESPN that she received negative feedback about hating trans people. She said she never said that. She said she wanted to protect young girls in sport who should not have to go against biological men. Fans of the Minnesota game wore shirts reading, "Trans kids belong in sports." Others held signs supporting Cunningham. Lynx coach Cheryl Reeve wore a "Trans kid belongs" shirt and met with Cunningham before the game. Reeve said they both understand they have platforms and talked about wanting to educate. She said there are things they agree and disagree on. Cunningham posed with conservative blogger Riley Gaines after the game. She held a sign reading, "Sophie, thank you, a girl mom." Cunningham maintained that her worldview is one of love. She said she is full of love and loves inspiring the next generation. She added that it does not cross her mind whether her comments have been a distraction. Sophie Cunningham faces WNBA subreddit name ban after transgender sports debate. Indiana Fever guard Sophie Cunningham turned 30 on August 16th, but fans trying to wish her a happy birthday on Reddit reportedly ran into a problem. Her name and several related terms were blocked on the main WNBA subreddit. The banned terms reportedly include Cunningham, Sophie, SC, Cunningham, Soph, and Sophia Cunningham. A moderator told a user that the subreddit had chosen to filter posts about Cunningham. The message warned that if the user kept messaging about it, they would be banned. The moderator also suggested going to a different subreddit to post freely about Cunningham. The decision came after Cunningham's comments about transgender athletes became a major WNBA debate. In July, she told ESPN that she had been criticized for her views. She said she does not hate trans people. She explained she wants to protect young girls in sport who should not have to go against biological men. The WNBA said there are no current transgender eligibility issues involving WNBA players. The league's collective bargaining agreement states that only women are eligible to play in the WNBA. The league also said it was discussing players' safety and online behavior after the debate grew. Joe Rogan piles on WNBA after Sophie Cunningham's comments over transgender athlete debate. Joe Rogan has just weighed in on the increasingly heated debate in the WNBA over transgender athletes competing in women's sports, and he's backing Indiana Fever guard Sophie Cunningham, while taking a very direct shot at the league's stance. On episode number 2539 of the Joe Rogan Experience, the UFC commentator dug into the controversy, and his question was simple. Why has the distinction between biological males and females become such a complicated and, in his opinion, contentious issue in sports? Well, the thing is, can you define what a woman is? If you can't define what a woman is, then you're an idiot, and this is nonsense, Rogan said. And that's what your ideology is. Your ideology is so stupid, you can't define the difference between a male and a female. And so you decided that people identifying with something means it's a real thing. And you have to say it because everybody else says it, and they scare you and they'll cancel you and go after you. So everyone's agreed to nonsense. This is where we've painted ourselves into Dumba corner. Joe Rogan's comments come in the aftermath of the controversy over Sophie Cunningham publicly expressing her opposition to transgender women competing in women's sports in a July 21st ESPN profile. The WNBA star statements have since become part of a much bigger debate about the league's eligibility criteria. WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert announced that the league will address the issue after forming a special task force. The panel, led by Engelbert and including representatives from the league's anti-hate task force, met on August 12th. Today's meeting covered a wide range of topics, including ongoing discussions on transgender athletes and the continued hate and vitriol directed at players online, the league said in its official statement. Former NBA players Enes Kanter Freedom and Larry Sanders had declared themselves eligible for the 2027 WNBA draft, complicating the conversation even further. And with the WNBA riding a wave of momentum owing to talents like Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, the entire situation has raised a bigger question. How much focus should the league devote to controversies that have little to do with what happens on the court? The sport itself is getting harder to ignore. The quality of play continues to improve, and games like the recent overtime thriller between the Atlanta Dream and the Indiana Fever are exactly the type of riveting drama that has helped propel the WNBA to new heights. And somehow, even after a game that went into overtime, it was pushed to the sidelines as a result of the ongoing controversy. Rather than the real drama that happened on the court, much of the post-game conversation centered on reports that Dream players didn't come out for national anthem, instead of the actual drama that unfolded on the court. It is also worth noting that this isn't the first time that the JRA host has spoken on the matter. Joe Rogan's reaction as former NBA players challenged WNBA eligibility rules. The debate was already heating up after Sophie Cunningham made her position clear. Then things took a crazy turn when former NBA players decided to make the hypothetical into something a lot more real. First, it was Enes Kanter who declared his eligibility for the 2027 WNBA draft on August 7th. My team and I have carefully examined the WNBA's eligibility criteria and governing framework surrounding self-identification and inclusion, Kanter wrote. Based on the current guidelines, I can and am officially declaring my eligibility for the upcoming WNBA draft in April 2027. Royce White joined in and Larry Sanders followed. Suddenly, what began as a theoretical argument had three former NBA players right in the center of it, and the entire conversation got a lot louder. Even Joe Rogan reacted strongly to Kanter Freedom's move, arguing that it exposed what he believes is an inconsistency in the WNBA's position. The WNBA painted themselves into the most loony position where they can't define what a woman is, he said on his podcast. This thing that he's doing where he's pretending that he's a woman is very smart. In this day and age, we almost need someone as a public figure to do something like that to show everyone how ridiculous it is that some psychopath can just pretend that they're a woman and knock women over on the court. Now, the situation leaves WNBA executives with an increasingly important question about the direction they want to take going forward. But regardless of one's position on the issue, there is no denying that the league's recent growth has been mostly driven by what happens on the basketball court. With Clark, Reese, and other rising players attracting unprecedented attention, keeping basketball at the center of the conversation will remain important as the WNBA navigates the debate. Nasty, nasty league. Analyst floats bold theory behind Sophie Cunningham controversy involving WNBA subreddit. Sophie Cunningham has once again found herself at the center of a controversy, this time after some fans claim her name has been restricted on the WNBA subreddit. Now, one analyst has a bold, if unusual, theory that takes the controversy to the next level. WNBA analyst Ben Daniel, speaking on his YouTube channel on August 17th, posited a theory about Cunningham's name supposedly being restricted, adding some unfiltered thoughts about the league's position. I don't think this is actually a far-fetched idea that behind the WNBA subreddit actually is one of these hating A *** WNBA players that just can't stand Sophie Cunningham. It's just a nasty, nasty league. The players in this league are nasty. A lot of fans around this league are nasty. It just is what it is. The coaches are nasty. The owners are nasty. We have team presidents chastising 16 and 17-year-olds. It just is all nasty surrounding the WNBA. The subreddit row began on Sophie Cunningham's 30th birthday, when fans noticed posts about her were being filtered a day prior to Daniel's video, leading to controversial discussions regarding content censoring. Reddit user adventurous_hope_101 reached out to a moderator for r/WNBA, asking them why they banned people from posting about Sophie Cunningham. We filter content based on Sophie E, because it tends to bring out trolls and people that aren't fans of the W, the moderator responded in this viral screenshot posted by @BrickCenter_ on X. We have chosen to filter content. If you want to post freely about Sophie, you can go to a different sub. Following that, the subreddit posted an official statement on the matter. Sophie Cunningham content is not banned from r/WNBA, it said. Posts about Sophie are welcome when they are related to basketball, including games, highlights, interviews, statistics, marketing endorsements, and other WNBA-related news. Off-court Sophie content can be shared as well. These moderation tools are applied to protect the community and are not being used to ban Sophie Cunningham content. It's important to note that r/WNBA is a community-run, unofficial space to discuss the league and its players, and any action taken by them is not representative of the league's opinions. Cunningham has become a polarizing personality following her comments on transgender people in women's sports in a profile from ESPN released on July 21st, bringing in both support and criticism from all over the basketball world. The subreddit filtering reflects a broader divide in the WNBA community, one that boiled over the July 28 game. The incident Daniel was referring to during the Indiana Fever's game against the Seattle Storm. Storm minority owner Celeste Keaton confronted two young fans. The pair held signs in support of Cunningham's stance on trans athletes, and following the confrontation, the WNBA suspended Keaton for 5 games from Seattle's home games and fined her, with the Storm releasing an apology for the incident. Regardless, for now, there is no proof that Daniel's theory about a player being behind Cunningham being supposedly restricted from the WNBA's subreddit is true. However, with the controversy around her only growing, no one can be sure what comes next. What Sophie Cunningham said when one NBA star said he could beat a WNBA team at age 13. Sophie Cunningham's comments from last year in response to Michael Porter Jr.'s claims have now resurfaced. Cunningham has become a very polarizing figure within the WNBA, especially due to her recent comments about trans athletes. However, her previous comments in response to Brooklyn Nets star Michael Porter Jr.'s claims about playing against WNBA players have now resurfaced. Sophie Cunningham agreed with Michael Porter Jr.'s WNBA claim. Speaking on Lonzo Ball's podcast last year, Michael Porter Jr. claimed that he would have been dominating the WNBA if he entered when he was in 8th grade. He also mentioned that he had experience playing against women's college players at that age, including Sophie Cunningham, who was on the court. I'm a go probably 8th grade because I have real experience doing this, because I played my sisters. They went to the University of Missouri, and I was still a young dude. They had me play on the scout team, and they had a few WNBA players on their team, like Sophie Cunningham and a couple others. I think I was in the 7th or 8th grade, going dumb. So I have real-life experience. I wish this would stop being conversation, because it should be common sense, but it's just not. In response to these comments, Cunningham, who Porter Jr. mentioned as being present at this game, agreed with the former NBA champion's comments. I mean, it's probably true. These comments have recently resurfaced in the aftermath of Cunningham's recent comments that have engulfed the WNBA in controversy. Cunningham recently expressed her opposition to trans athletes being allowed to play in the WNBA, which led to widespread criticism from other members of the league, including players and coaches. However, many fans and former players have backed Cunningham's stance, with some former NBA players even attempting to get drafted to the WNBA to prove their point. For both her critics and her supporters, Cunningham's past comments will serve as vindication, as it shows that she believes strongly in the idea that male athletes have a biological advantage over female athletes. Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham draw attention for what they did before Fever Game. Sophie Cunningham, Caitlin Clark, and Lexi Hull were trending online on Tuesday. The Indiana Fever started their 5-game road trip on a high with an overtime win against the Atlanta Dream on Sunday. The 2025 WNBA Commissioner's Cup champions overcame Alicia Gray's 32 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists. Angel Reese also contributed a 15-point, 14-rebound double-double. However, the Fever starters dictated the game for the visitors. Michaela Timpson and Kelsey Mitchell scored 20 points each. Aaliyah Boston had a dominant game with 18 points, 14 rebounds, 4 assists, 5 steals, and 3 blocks. Caitlin Clark led the way for Indiana with 26 points and 9 assists. Indiana travels to Scotiabank Arena on Tuesday to face the Toronto Tempo for the second game of their road trip. This will also be Clark's first WNBA game on Canadian soil. Before the game, Sophie Cunningham posted a TikTok video in which they tried various Canadian snacks. The 8-year veteran munched on the goodies with Lexi Hull and Clark, and it drew attention from Fever fans. Turns out Canada isn't too different than where we are from. Hull mentioned in a comment, "Sophie, everyone loves you in Canada, Red Heart," a fan said. "You guys are so funny," added another. "Old Dutch ketchup chips are top tier," a user exclaimed. "One of these a week. Please, smiling face with hearts," a comment requested. "Try a butter tart, but from a bakery," a fan suggested. The Fever trio tried multiple snacks, such as ketchup and all dress-flavored potato chips. They even tried a coffee-flavored wafer bar. Indiana aims to get its second win this season against the Tempo. They first met on June 16th, when the Fever dominated Toronto at home, 113-91. WNBA forced to clarify Sophie Cunningham's stance after Reddit controversy erupts. The WNBA found itself pulled into another controversy involving Indiana Fever guard Sophie Cunningham, even though the league had nothing to do with the decision that sparked the backlash. Cunningham's name reportedly was filtered by moderators of the independently operated r/WNBA subreddit, preventing some users from publishing posts or comments about the veteran guard. The restriction quickly drew criticism from fans who believed an official WNBA community was censoring discussion of one of the league's most recognizable players. There was one major problem with that assumption. The subreddit is not operated by the WNBA. As frustration spread across social media, a league spokesperson issued a brief statement distancing the organization from the Reddit community. The WNBA does not moderate or have any affiliation with the r/WNBA subreddit, the league said, according to Christina Williams. The clarification did not settle the broader debate, but it established that the decision came from volunteer Reddit moderators rather than league officials. Why was Sophie Cunningham's name filtered on Reddit? The controversy began after a Reddit user shared an exchange that appeared to show an r/WNBA moderator confirming that Cunningham-related content was being filtered. We filter content based on Sophie because it tends to bring out trolls and people who aren't fans of the W, the moderator wrote, according to Fox News. When a user argued that Cunningham is a WNBA player with legitimate fans, the moderator reportedly suggested using another community for unrestricted conversation about her. The filter drew additional attention around Cunningham's 30th birthday on August 16th. Fans said they were unable to create posts celebrating the Fever guard because her name triggered the moderation system. Cunningham has become one of the WNBA's most polarizing players after publicly expressing her belief that transgender women should not compete in women's sports. Her comments attracted new supporters while also generating criticism and protests. The moderator's apparent goal was to prevent political arguments, trolling, and an influx of users with little previous involvement in the subreddit. However, filtering Cunningham's name also affected basketball discussions, birthday messages, and other posts that did not violate the community's stated purpose. r/WNBA moderators clarify Cunningham policy. Following the backlash, r/WNBA moderators published an update saying Cunningham content was not banned from the community. Posts about Sophie are welcome when they're related to basketball, including games, highlights, interviews, statistics, marketing endorsements, and other WNBA-related news, the moderators wrote on Reddit. The moderators also said off-court Cunningham content could be shared. Instead of targeting one player, the subreddit raised a minimum community karma required to create any new post to 50. That policy is intended to limit trolling and coordinated efforts by users who have not previously participated in the community. Some discussion threads also may receive stronger crowd control settings, which can automatically filter contributions from new accounts, users with low community karma, or accounts identified as possible spammers. The update represented a significant clarification from the initial moderator exchange that went viral. Cunningham's name may have been filtered during controversy, but the subreddit now says posts about her are permitted under its broader rules. Sophie Cunningham remains at center of WNBA conversation. Cunningham's production has not been the primary reason for the surge in attention. The 30-year-old is averaging 8.7 points, 2.4 rebounds, and 1.2 assists this season. She scored 3 points and grabbed 7 rebounds in 33 minutes during Indiana's 95-91 overtime victory over the Atlanta Dream on her birthday. Caitlin Clark led the Fever with 26 points and 9 assists, while Kelsey Mitchell added 20 points in the comeback win. Still, Cunningham's visibility extends far beyond her box score numbers. Her outspoken personality, physical style of play, and willingness to address contentious subjects have turned her into a central figure in conversations surrounding the WNBA. That increased attention presents a difficult challenge for online communities trying to encourage basketball discussion without allowing every thread to become a political argument. The WNBA's position, however, is now unmistakable. Whatever moderation decisions are made on r/WNBA belong to the subreddit, not the league. WNBA issues clarification on Sophie Cunningham name ban controversy on Reddit fans trying to wish Sophie Cunningham a happy birthday hit a Reddit wall, and a firestorm followed. The Sophie Cunningham discourse has gotten out of hand, with reports of the Indiana Fever Guard's name getting banned on Reddit. The WNBA was forced to issue a statement on the matter. Fans recently discovered that the popular r/WNBA subreddit had banned mentions of Cunningham. This was done to curb non-basketball conversation on the forum after swarms of new Cunningham fans poured into the platform following the Fever Guard's recent stance on transgender athletes playing in the league. Due to criticism from fans over the Cunningham ban on r/WNBA, the league released a statement clarifying that it was not associated with the subreddit. A WNBA spokesperson said, "The WNBA does not moderate or have any affiliation with the r/WNBA subreddit. When fans couldn't post Cunningham's name on the subreddit to wish her a happy 30th birthday recently, they realized that the page had banned the mention of her." On August 16, 2026, multiple media outlets reported that Reddit user adventures_hope_101 posted screenshots showing an alleged ban on Cunningham's name in post titles on the site. This also included variants of her name, such as Sophie Cunningham, Soph, Cunningham, and SC. Moderators of r/WNBA defended the auto-filtering ban on Cunningham comments by citing an inflow of non-WNBA fans of the Fever Guard on the subreddit. They claimed that it sparked political debates on her views on transgender athletes. The moderator of the r/WNBA subreddit said, "We filter content based on Sophie because it tends to bring out trolls and people that aren't fans of the W." In response to a user's query about why members were prohibited from mentioning Cunningham, the user dismissed the alleged ban, calling it ridiculous that fans couldn't talk about a player they loved. The moderators hit back, adding, "We have chosen to filter content. If you want to post freely about Sophie, you can go to a different sub." As the user kept persisting, the moderators tried to shut them out by saying, "You aren't even a contributor to this sub, so I suggest you go back to the other WNBA subs. This is our decision. If you keep messaging about this, you will be banned." On August 17, 2026, the r/WNBA subreddit also issued a clarification regulating the usage of the Fever Guard's name on the platform. The statement read, "Sophie Cunningham content is not banned from r/WNBA. Posts about Sophie are welcome when they're related to basketball, including games, highlights, interviews, statistics, marketing endorsements, and other WNBA-related news. Off-court Sophie content can be shared as well." The statement also said that r/WNBA was modifying the karma-related community rules. Karma on Reddit is determined by a user's comment on a post, as well as the number of upvotes and downvotes. Downvotes show that users don't think the content is good, while upvotes indicate otherwise, i.e., the content is positively adding to the community. Posting in the r/WNBA subreddit now requires 50 community karma points. The moderators of r/WNBA also added, "This is in place, so the subreddit will not be overran with trolls or brigade." And this goes for any new post. You must have 50 community karma to create any post. These moderation tools are applied to protect the community and are not being used to ban Sophie Cunningham content. Thank you for helping us keep our /WNBA focused, respectful, and enjoyable for basketball fans. While the r/WNBA subreddit moderators are being criticized for restricting free speech, Cunningham's fans feel less guilty about banding together to back the Indiana Guard.